Hello, my name is Faye and I work for the Environment Agency. I'm one of the people who have been working on the Polder 2Cs project from the UK, and I'm on my way to a location where I can give the Polder 2Cs app a really good testing. I found a location where it's not a flood defence here in the UK, but it does have quite a lot of defects in this particular area, so it'd be a really good place to give the app a really good test here in the UK. So I'll check in shortly. Here we are. So it's a nice day here in the UK, but like Polders, it's very windy. So I'm in the location. This site, again, just to re-emphasize that this is not a Environment Agency flood defence. This is just an area that I'm aware there's quite a number of issues that if this was on one of our flood embankments we would be concerned about. We do have some defects around, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around as though I am a normal member of public, take some photographs as though this is a flood embankment. I'll video me inputting that information into the app to see how well the app copes with a number of different defects types. So I'm back again. I've come back inside because it was far too windy and you wouldn't have been able to hear me. So I've got the app in front of me now and I'm going to start inputting the first set of data. So here we have the water side here on the left, and the defect I found was on the exposed face. So I'd select that. As I said, I've moved location from where I was, but I know where the defect was, so I will just manually put this in, and I can add photographs. So the first one I'll do is a animal burrow, so I'll add the picture here, and then I will add another photograph. So what I've done here is I've added a picture in my hand in the photograph, and that just helps scale how big the burrow is. So I know that it does ask more questions further down, but adding something like your foot or your hand or something that anyone back in the office can use as a reference is really helpful. So scrolling down to animal damage, and it wasn't that big at all. No, but more than perhaps 10 centimeters, I would say. It's not a big one. So I'm going to add those details in. Again, no more than 10 centimeters wide and really not that big at all. So I would say it's very shallow. The surface material is grass. It's animal damage and it's very shallow. In order to speed this up a little bit, I'm just going to quickly whiz through the rest of the questions. But as you can see, as per the defect type, it asks a series of questions which I then answer and submit. And then I'm going to submit another defect. So again, exposed face. I'm going to change the location manually. Okay. If I was on site and doing this, then I would obviously press the camera photo instead of files, and the geolocation would automatically pick up where I am. But as I move, that's why I'm doing this manually. And then I did find some cracks, so I'm going to add some photographs. So obviously we don't want some cracks in our flood embankments. Let's add that in. Again, I've used my hand as a reference. We have an observation type cracks here. It really wasn't too big. I would say it was around about 15 centimeters, the biggest one. So in order to keep this video length to a minimum, I'm just going to whiz through the rest of the questions really quickly. I'm just entering the dimensions, such as the length, width and depth of that crack on site. It's then asking for the type of crack, so I'm just referring back to the photograph and remembering where the water was in reference to me, and then just filling out the rest of these questions. All of these questions are incredibly important for those who are not on site in order to assess the situation and know how to respond. Obviously, the Environment Agency can't be everywhere at once, and so information like this and photographs are incredibly useful to triage our response and know how fast we need to rectify this defect. So there were a lot of defects on site, but I'm going to go straight to the next one, which is lack of grass cover. So grass on our flood embankments is just as important as the quality of the soil. So we want really, really good grass cover on our flood embankments. So as you can see, if this was on one of our flood defences, this would not be good enough. There's lots of bald patches, lots of exposed soil here. So I'm going to upload this as a defect. So if this was an Environment Agency flood embankment, I would be very concerned about these defects. This would fall under the observation type other. I would say it's very serious, and I will put a remark, lack of established grass. Okay, last defect. So on site, I noticed a particular defect that's quite common where you get trees around flood embankments. So you'll see here that round the back of that tree, there's some soil that's eroded away. And this happens when you get high flows up against the side of an embankment, and it allows turbulence, or otherwise known as eddies, to build up around the back of that tree trunk. And it allows for extra soil to erode away. And you can see it in this example. So I'm going to upload this defect. So I'm going to put this under the observation type other, and I am going to put it down as serious. So my remarks are going to be erosion behind tree on the water side, because this can lead to further erosion, and sand. So in summary, I'm really happy with this app. A lot of partners came together on the Polder 2Cs project to come up with an app that's really useful and asks a lot of relevant questions that will help those not on site to assess the situation, to understand the risks, and to triage and prioritize different response depending on depending on how likely the defect is going to lead to failure or further erosion and so on. And so after running through the list of questions, as you can see here, there's lots of different observation types, lots more questions that it can ask the user. And you can see how useful it actually would be to anyone who needs to manage their flood embankments or other defences on site. So from an Environment Agency perspective, we do plan to take this app as a prototype to further develop in the future. And we would really love this to be used where members of public walking the dog or just out and about, where they can, if they see anything that they don't think looks right on our flood embankments, they can have an app that they can easily report any defects they think we might want to see. And the list of questions and media is really useful, especially when talking to a non-technical member of public.